Chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita. Vyasa's wisdom revealed through Adi Sankara. And the author, Sakshi / Exum. August 2025, Austin, Texas. Copyright all rights reserved. Sankhya Yoga or Transcendental Knowledge. The second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita stands as a pivotal moment within the epic dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna. This chapter marks the profound transition from despair to wisdom, capturing the essence of Vyasa's authorship and philosophical vision. Over the centuries, Chapter 2 has inspired extensive commentary, most notably by Adi Sankara, the influential Advaita Vedanta philosopher, and, in the modern era, by James H. Exum, Sakshi, whose contemporary expositions have sought to bridge the ancient and the modern. In this discourse, we traverse Vyasa's wisdom as revealed through Sankara's classic interpretations and Exum's comparative insights, grounding our exploration in core textual sources. Vyasa's vision in Chapter 2. Vyasa, the legendary compiler of the Mahabharata, crafts Chapter 2 as both a philosophical and a practical cornerstone. Here, Arjuna is paralyzed by grief and confusion on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, confronted with the terrible choice between family loyalty and duty, dharma. Vyasa's literary genius emerges in Krishna's response, a luminous exposition on the nature of self, Atman, the immortality of the soul, and the necessity of selfless action, karma yoga. Vyasa's method is dialectical and poetic. He weaves metaphors, logic, and direct injunctions, guiding the reader from the limitations of material identification toward the reality of the eternal self. In verses such as 2.13, just as the boyhood, youth, and old age come to the embodied soul in this body, in the same manner, is the attaining of another body, the wise man is not deluded at that. Vyasa reveals the perennial cycle of birth and death and the continuity of consciousness. Sankara's interpretation, the wisdom of non-duality. Adi Sankara, c. 8th century CE, the seminal Advaita Vedanta philosopher, composed a celebrated Bhashya, commentary, on the Gita. For Sankara, Chapter 2 is not merely ethical or psychological but metaphysical. He sees Krishna's teachings as a radical affirmation of non-dualism, Advaita. Key themes in Sankara's commentary. The immortality of Atman. Sankara underscores Krishna's assertion that the Atman, self, is unborn, eternal, and indestructible. The famous verse 2.20, he is not born, nor does he ever die. After having been, he again ceases not to be. Unborn, eternal, changeless, and ancient, he is not killed when the body is killed, becomes the centerpiece for Sankara's metaphysical exposition. Karma yoga and renunciation. Sankara interprets Krishna's advocacy of action without attachment, nishkama karma, as an essential preparatory discipline for the realization of Brahman. Worldly duties, if done without desire for reward, purify the mind, making it ready for knowledge. The nature of sorrow. Sankara reads Arjuna's despondency as stemming from ignorance, avidya, of the true self. Knowledge alone, not mere moral resolve, dispels confusion. Thus, Krishna's instruction is ultimately jnana, knowledge, not just practical advice. The sthita prajna ideal. The closing verses, 2.54-72, describe the sthita prajna, the person of steady wisdom, who remains unmoved by pain and pleasure. For Sankara, this ideal is the fruit of self-knowledge and non-attachment. Sankara's commentary, rooted in Upanishadic insight, often contrasts the eternal Atman with the transitory body-mind complex. He frequently cites the Mandukya and Chandogya Upanishads, reinforcing Vyasa's teachings with scriptural authority. See Sankara's Gita Bhashya, 2.13, 2.20, 2.47. Sakshi, a modern comparative perspective. Sakshi is a contemporary scholar and teacher whose works seek to make the Gita accessible and relevant for a global audience. In his lectures and publications, Sakshi engages with both traditional commentaries and modern psychology, offering a comparative lens. Key contributions. Bridging traditions, Exum draws parallels between Sankara's Advaita and Western existentialism, noting that both traditions confront the anxiety of existence and the search for meaning. In his view, Krishna's insistence on action resonates with existentialist calls for authenticity and engagement with the world. The psychology of Arjuna's crisis, Exum analyzes Arjuna's paralysis not merely as moral conflict but as a universal existential crisis, a theme echoed by Carl Jung and Joseph Campbell. The battlefield becomes a metaphor for the crossroads of life, and Krishna's teaching is an archetype of inner guidance. Karma Yoga in modern context, for Exum, the doctrine of action without attachment is especially relevant in an age of anxiety and distraction. He cites contemporary examples, professional life, family relationships, civic engagement, where selfless action leads to deeper fulfillment. Liberation and social engagement, while Sankara emphasizes renunciation, Exum highlights the Gita's call for active engagement in the world, seeing Karma Yoga as a path to personal and collective transformation. Sakshi's writings often reference both Sankara and later commentators such as Swami Vivekananda and Sri Satchidananda, emphasizing the Gita's universality. Comparative insights, Vyasa, Sankara, and Sakshi. By examining Chapter 2 through the lenses of Vyasa, Sankara, and Exum, Sakshi, several convergent and divergent themes arise. On the self, all three agree on the centrality of the Atman and its immortality. While Vyasa expresses this poetically, Sankara philosophically sharpens it into Advaita non-duality, and Exum situates it in the modern quest for identity and meaning. On action, Vyasa's Krishna commands action. Sankara sees this as a means to purify the mind for jhana, while Exum urges its application in all spheres of modern life. On sorrow and liberation, the problem of grief, Arjuna's despair, is for Vyasa a dramatic device, for Sankara, the result of ignorance, for Exum, a universal human predicament requiring psychological and spiritual insight. On the ideal person, the Sthita Prajna, or person of steady wisdom, is for all three an exemplar, unattached, wise, and compassionate, whether in ancient India or the modern world. Conclusion. Chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita radiates with Vyasa's vision, a vision deepened by Sankara's philosophical rigor and refracted through the modern lens of James H. Exum, Sakshi. Together, these voices reveal the Gita's enduring ability to speak to the dilemmas of every age, the mystery of the self, the necessity of action, the inevitability of sorrow, and the possibility of wisdom. Through comparative discourse, we find that the Gita's second chapter remains not only a scripture of its time but a living conversation for seekers everywhere. Selected sources. Bhagavad Gita, translations by Swami Prabhavananda and Christopher Isherwood, Eknatheswaran, and S. Radhakrishnan. Sankara's Bhagavad Gita Bhashya, translated by Swami Gambhirananda. Exum, J. H. Sakshi, Reflections and Other Papers, unpublished. Radhakrishnan, S. The Bhagavad Gita, with an introductory essay, Sanskrit text, English translation, and notes. Chandogya Upanishad, Mandukya Upanishad. Swami Vivekananda, The Complete Works of Swami Vivekananda, especially on Karma Yoga. Campbell, Joseph, The Hero with 1,000 Faces.